Right. Absolutely.
And
And I
then,
mean, stay small,
yep.
obviously, and you'll be big soon enough. So, I
Right.
kind of live by that, and, don't grow too fast, obviously. Do what's ever in your means, but, just obviously invest in the right areas. You know, when I first started, I didn't really see the word no in my vocabulary, and that's
Me
every
too.
entrepreneur. And, as I've grown and as I've gone through this journey, I've told people no, and not everyone's your customer. And, you have to find that line where, find that niche that you're really good at and just hunker down on it and engrave your name into it, because
Yeah.
it is tough. There's a lot of competition in everything we do. It doesn't matter if we're trying to figure out who can throw the football the farthest. There's competition in everything we do. So, kind of find what you're good at and, engrave it into your business. And I feel like you'll go far,
All right, what's up, guys? Today we have Quinton on from Next Level Junk Removal and Dumpster Rentals. What's up, Quinton? How's it going, man?
Good. Yourself?
Sweet. I'm doing well. Yeah. Really just wanted to have you on today to kind of talk about, number one, your journey in entrepreneurship, kind of how you came to start Next Level, and then we can kind of get into your business a little bit and talk about what you do in Michigan. Does that sound good?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Awesome. So yeah, kind of take me back to, when you were thinking about starting the business, or kind of what drove you initially to get into business and entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so initially, I wanted to find a way to work for myself, obviously, at some point in time. The determining factor was actually I was working a construction job. COVID hit, and I was kind of scrapping out of my pickup truck for the longest of time, as long as I've had a pickup truck. So, and I figured, well, I know I'm about to lose my job. I'm getting laid off. What can I do in the meantime, to keep the money coming in? So actually, I was on a scrapping job with another buddy of mine, and it's kind of a sad story in a way. I didn't want to leave this company the way I did, but at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for you. So I was in a basement. It was Sunday. It was about 10:30, and I was laid off at this point. And I get a call, many calls from the guy I was working for, want me to come work. And at this point, like, I'm trying to make money myself. He's trying to get me to come work and do side jobs with him. And I really couldn't, drop everything I'm doing to go and help him out. So at that point, I kind of come to a determination that I was going to leave and jump 2 feet in and start up hauling stuff for a living. So that's what happened.
So so COVID hits and you got laid off. So obviously, kind of making the move to that. Was it something that you had thought about getting into? Like when you were still working the construction job, did you have any thoughts about starting your own business or kind of going your own way, or what did that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I had thoughts. I actually sat down and wrote a business plan. I feel like a business plan is very important. If you don't have a plan, you have a plan to fail. Right. The way I look at it. So I looked at the market. I looked at my demographics and geographics. At that point, I wasn't going to jump 2 feet in. I was kind of going to slowly grow into it and, see if the market was there and if it was stable enough to do it full time. But I kind of got pushed off the deep end and made it work. So yeah, I know I definitely looked into it. I did my research. I found that there's a market and just went for it at the end of the day.
Heck yeah. So you started your business during COVID then?
Yeah, it was actually pre-COVID. I talked to a lot of business coaches. There's a lot of free help out there, such as like the Small Business Development Center. I worked at a couple other business coaches and companies just to, get me pointed in the right direction, because it is scary. I mean, being an entrepreneur is taking a risk. You don't know what's going to happen at the end of the day. So, make sure your ducks are in a row, and I made sure mine were in a row, and I knew something had to push me to that point, because, it's scary not having, job security or
Right.
money coming in every month. And yeah, sure, I was scrapping, but I mean,
It's not consistent.
it's not consistent at the end of the day, exactly. So
Did you find, like, when you first started out? Well, first of all, can you speak to kind of what it was like, and maybe specific to the junk removal industry during COVID, and then also, what was that like early experience like of finding work, or kind of getting your, going from the guy that was scrapping to now the business that you've built? Like, what did that look like at the beginning, kind of?
no, at the beginning it was tough. I mean, it was different. I remember my first kind of advertisement was posting a listing on Craigslist.
Nice.
And I had an old truck. It was a 98 Dodge flatbed with 8x10 flatbed on it that I built sides on it. And I slowly started to market like on Facebook a little bit, just on my personal side of things. And then I got into a local newspaper. And honestly, up until, I want to say 2 years ago, the only means of advertisement that I did was what they call mail max. It was just local trade lines here. So I did mail max, and it was good. I thought it was good at that point. I mean,
Right.
my ROI was amazing from it. I didn't have much overhead, but I just knew as I grew, I had to, invest. So, you learn along the way, and this kind of part that I messed up.
I guess just speaking to, was it tough? I guess I'm trying to think in terms of somebody that, of the specific industry, like what was it like starting a business, specifically junk removal, or maybe just home service business in general, or in terms of service business in COVID?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was tough, but a lot of people were home.
Right.
So, there was a lot of junk accumulating. I hate to say it, but the unemployment was, benefits were great. So, there were people that were, spending more time at home than not. So,
Right.
It was just really finding the market for it, finding, your customer. We're here, the majority of our demographics, are elderly people. So,
Okay.
They're already retired, so it doesn't really affect them too much.
Right.
But as opposed to now, the housing market wasn't there. So, your larger cleanouts were a little tougher to do, or to, try to market for. People were just doing the bare minimum during COVID. But, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
Right.
But looking back now,
It's an interesting time for sure.
It's an interesting time, exactly. So
Yeah. And then another, I mean, I love talking to anybody that I have a chance to, just about entrepreneurship, because I've been doing this just about a year, and obviously you have so much more experience than me, but I guess just on the side of being a business owner, and kind of the roller coaster that you're signing up for with that, could you say, now maybe a couple years down the line, would you say that the business is at a point, or at least you personally running it, are you able to, I don't know if it would necessarily be like, does it feel more stable, or does it feel like, are the kind of roller coaster of emotions that when you're first starting, does that no longer, I'm almost like asking for myself, like a light at the end of the tunnel here, like is that something that you can kind of expect a few years down the road? Does it kind of naturally transition to that, or is there always kind of that crazy element of, business going up and down, you can get that call or that email in the middle of the night sort of thing?
Yeah, no, I mean, it takes one phone call to change your life, truly. I mean, it's kind of crazy. They call us entrepreneurs crazy people. I mean, someone willing to take a risk. I think, your definition of success might be different from mine, and same as business. Some people working for themselves, may call themselves, they may run a business, but are you really running a business? And I actually read this book. It's called The E-Myth, and I've kind of taken it into my personal journey of running a business and even life. And I feel like there's 3 key factors when it comes to running at least a service-based business like I do. And you have the manager, You have the technician, and you have the entrepreneur. So last year, I kind of really took that book into where am I going here? I took that book into consideration of, how to run a business. And, I don't think it's ever going to be, cut and dry. I mean, business is changing every single day, obviously. But, like my mindset compared to someone who works for you is different. They don't have those entrepreneur ideas. So going back to like the manager, the technician, and then entrepreneur, I feel like you as an entrepreneur need to find your manager and your technician when you feel the time is right. Because if not, you're focused on working, you're focused on, just making money. But at the end of the day, I know you have these ideas as the entrepreneur to, do whatever in the business with the business.
So you're kind of like kind of what it sounds like is like, at least where I feel right now is you're kind of wearing all the hats and being able to kind of like delegate or hire other people to where you're not doing everything anymore, but you can, have the day to hop on a podcast or to step back from your business and kind of think about like what's the next step or the lever that's gonna, grow my business as opposed to I just got to go to the next job kind of thing.
Right. Absolutely. And then, that means stay small.
Yep.
Obviously, and you'll be big soon enough. So, I kind of live by that, and, don't grow too fast, obviously. Do what's ever in your means, but, just obviously invest in the right areas. When I first started, I didn't really see the word no in my vocabulary, and that's every entrepreneur. And, as I've grown and as I've gone through this journey, I've told people no. And, not everyone's your customer. And, you have to find that line where, find that niche that you're really good at and just hunker down on it and engrave your name into it. Because it is tough. There's a lot of competition in everything we do. It doesn't matter if we're trying to figure out who can throw the football the farthest. There's competition in everything we do. So, kind of find what you're good at and, engrave it into your business. And I feel like you'll go far. It's...
Yeah, 100%. And for other guys that are in Michigan, they're looking to start a business or wherever, whatever kind of business, but let's say specifically service-based, what would you say in terms of hiring? Like you're saying, start small and kind of remain there until it's time. When would you say it's, at least maybe in your own personal experience, when you knew it was time to make that hire? And then what do you also look for in hiring, when you're deciding who to bring onto the team?
Yeah, so I mean, that was a big discussion with me. As I actually talked to a business coach about it for about a year, because initially, you're putting your name, if depending on where you hire and what you hire. Me personally, I was going to hire like a personal assistant to take care of book work, so I could still remain in the field, still physically be there on the job. But he was like, you should just hire labor, and truth be told, there's nothing wrong with hiring labor. But, you have to kind of find who you want to hire. So I did last year, I hired labor, and it was a great addition. Even though I wanted to hire someone, to take the weight off my shoulders, like book work wise, accounting wise, I hired labor.
Okay.
And that point I knew it was right as, when you're, obviously we get the calls. We don't have a call center. We don't have, a big team. So, that point was I was turning down business because I was so swamped physically that I couldn't, focus on that part of the business.
Okay, so it almost kind of like, it just kind of found, like you can't fulfill anymore the amount of jobs that come in.
Right, exactly.
So it's time to, bring somebody else on to maybe handle the calls or delegate
Right.
the jobs. And you said you've got a crew of a couple guys working.
Yeah,
most of the time,
last
right?
year I had 6 guys full time. This year I have 4.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's up and down. I mean, that's business, really. I mean, you find what works, and it's a journey, And going forward, I'd love to hire another crew. I'd love to put together another truck and another crew, and I know by this spring I will. Right now I'm kind of using the junk removal as a stepping stone. I want to get into some bigger projects, such as some demos and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just all a learning curve.
Awesome. Would you say for the demolition, would you rather go, is that residential, commercial, both? Kind of what direction you want to take it?
Both. So with the profession that I'm in now, the junk removal, I've actually been close with a lot of municipalities and townships here within my area. So we've actually done quite a bit of like township jobs, township bids, and stuff like that, and they're evolving into like a larger scale now. It's kind of commercial wise in a way, but it's still small enough where I'm able to obtain it on the junk removal side. But I know there's a market there, and I want to see if I can make a move in that market.
Break into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Sweet. And then something I always kind of love to ask is, obviously you have a lot of experience. You've done a lot of jobs. Is there like maybe a day or a certain job that was maybe hectic, or just something that stood out as memorable? Maybe it was like a specific customer you dealt with, or is there anything that kind of comes to mind there?
Oh, well, we'll keep it PG, but yeah, I mean, there's many. I mean, you live and you learn. There's jobs even to this day where I feel like, man, I've bit off more than I can chew. We just finished a court order actually 2 weeks ago, and the thing about these ones are like, at my initial inspection, there's half the stuff, and these people are bringing stuff in every single day, and it took me 2 months to finally get out there to catch up to do the job, and now there's like triple the work.
My God.
Until it's signed off by a ordinance officer, you're kind of just eating it. So there's many memorable jobs. There's your first $1,000 job, there's your first $10,000 job, there's your first $20,000 job.
Wow.
So
I'm waiting.
Looking back, when I was making $3,000 to $4,000 a month, I was a happy camper. But there's been months where truly, and I don't put this out there, that you can make good money in junk removal. I mean, there's 60,000 plus months that I've done. It's not consistent, but there's months there where you can make good money.
Right. Would you say is it, especially like to Michigan, is there a certain time of the year where just like seasonally, like you need to be kind of ready or have the crew prepped, or can it kind of just be like a month that big? Could it kind of just come out of nowhere, or what have you found?
Yeah, so obviously in Michigan, you're from Michigan, obviously the weather's going to change here real quick. It's November 7th, so usually November through about February, we slow down on the junk removal side of things. The roll-off dumpsters stay pretty consistent just due to the contractors, but really late March through, I'd say mid-October, late October, are your months that are going to be the most profitable. And honestly, looking back, September and April are the most profitable within the junk removal, which I just think it's that spring push and that fall push that really does well here, at least. So
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. It is interesting in Michigan too, the seasonality, because you never know. Like it's November now, but you never know when the sky is going to kind of open up, and all of a sudden we're Michigan's basically covered in snow, or it's
right.
You can have a 70-degree day in January. You just kind of never know. But yeah, it's interesting to think about kind of the seasonality of it, and just kind of the natural ebb and flow, especially living in somewhere where you do have more seasons. And then I also want to talk about just kind of reputation in general. I know that's something that we work together on in terms of your review presence. Can you kind of talk about what it was like, building a reputation for yourself in the industry, in the area, kind of some tricks or tips that people can use that are starting out a business to build their own reputation, and kind of your just experience with that?
Yeah, so initially, like I said, the word no was not in my vocabulary.
Right.
But obviously, as you continue on with business, you got to find, that spot where you can tell people no. And, I think that goes along with the reputation as well, and don't bite off more than you can chew, because at the end of the day, it can come back to haunt you.
Right.
And, just be honest. I mean, we're in it to make money, but my name's behind it, my reputation's behind it, and then going back to the people that you hire, make sure you find some respectable and responsible people, because there are times where you're going into houses and you're a junk mover, you're a trash man to a bunch of people, and they don't.
Right.
Reputation is very important when it comes to this profession.
Right.
I've heard it many times, and I built mine really off just being honest and being trustworthy, and being punctual, show up on time, do the work that you propose to do in a timely manner, and just be respectful at the end of the day. So
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like in terms of what we're working together on with helping aid that collection of that customer feedback, it's like every review that comes through for your business, somebody is talking about how amazing Quinton was.
Yeah,
there's just some sort of personal touch to it where you can tell that you've built a business that has that personal touch, and people like recognize your name and they recognize your brand. And like you said, you're going in there, you're saying no to jobs now and taking those jobs where hey, I'm prepared to go in and do the best job I can and get
Right.
the feedback from it as well.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then for review collection, in terms of your experience of collecting reviews, and then obviously on what we're working with, kind of what did you do in the past? Like, were you just asking customers directly for reviews? Were you sending out review links? Did you offer any sort of incentive to customers, or what was your experience kind of in the past for review collection?
Yeah, so I would just send I'd just copy and paste my link and text it to customers. And man, I'll be honest with you, obviously, you're skeptical as a business owner. I mean, you get calls from tons of people, but honestly, working with you is probably one of the best investments I've done. Truly.
Heck yeah.
Reviews can be the lifeline of your business. I mean, I don't know how many, customers I've gone to and met that have said, we chose you specifically because of your reviews. I mean, it's
Incredible.
It's incredible how many, come from reviews, honestly.
Yeah, and it's one thing I try to tell Michigan, every business owner that I talk to is it's like, I mean, as you know, it's the first thing that people see when they go to your business and they're searching up, junk removal, plumbing, whatever the niche is. The first thing they're going to see is those reviews, and they want to see, the customers trust you, they understand your business, and they're going to check you out before they decide to, hit that call button.
Yeah, absolutely. And, going back to, my marketing tactics and me only advertising, I used to only be all about print advertisement just because, my target audience were elderly, and, they really weren't on Google. They weren't on the internet. They had a newspaper in their hand and finding businesses in the trade line. So I kind of wasn't focused on reviews for the longest of time, but I can really see the difference it's made now. So I'm happy with the results.
And I just wanted to ask you too, because I think every business owner that I talk to in terms of just entrepreneurship and trying to understand, myself better and why the heck I'm putting myself through this.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to somebody that's looking to start a business in terms of, I guess, maybe your best advice that you might have for somebody or something to be ready for, and then I guess on the other side of that, kind of what keeps you going?
Yeah, my advice is do it. I mean, don't be afraid to take the risk. Obviously, you don't know until you try. And the advice I live for is people don't fail, they quit. And be obsessed with what you do. I think obsession beats talent. When someone can be talented, but if they're not obsessed with it, they're gonna run themselves out of the game. So just try it. I mean, take a risk, see what happens, see where you land, and it may be the greatest jump or leap you ever taken in your life. So
absolutely,
yeah.
Man. Well, thank you for having the time to come on and talk with me. I'm glad we got to highlight you and your story, and also just Next Level in general. You guys are doing incredible things. Anybody in Michigan that needs junk removal, make sure you give Quinton a call. Next Level Junk Removal and Dumpster Rentals, absolute best company in Michigan, and you guys won't regret it. So thanks for hopping on, Quinton. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.